Hey Aruna, how are you?
Hey, not too bad, Satya. How are you doing?
Very well, very well. Thanks for making the time and having a chat with me.
Thank you to chat. I mean, it's been a while. We had a face-to-face interaction.
Yeah,
so
it's been a while.
I'm glad.
I'm good to have you here. While I've got you here, I thought I'll pose a direct question to you. You know, we've talking about AI, we talked about machine learning. Data is really being a very big play. Everyone's talking about data, the different formats of data. What are some of the applications data actually has in the financial services that you worked on that we could enlighten our audiences and talk to them about?
Yeah, sure. I always love to talk about finance. That's been my area for a long time, and so there is a lot of application. In fact, traditionally, where for example, if you look at financial crimes, if you're looking at fraudulent transactions, traditionally you have to write rule-based algorithm physically. To be able to and you're not always fast enough to catch up with the fraudsters out there who are smart, even more smarter. So I think AI has actually made a huge transformation. Now you have automatic anomaly detection and other algorithms like that, where you can quickly look at what the unusual transactions that's happening, alert them, and then put it into the decision support systems. So the people that who are actually looking at those fraud officers can make decisions, stop the transactions then and there, rather than after effect, which means the money is gone. So that's one application I can think of. The other one is loans, which is another interesting applications where it's transformed. Before, if we want to give a loan, traditionally you have to look at their account history, transaction, and the salary, pay slips, and all that. But with the new generation, you have a lot of people who have just migrated into the country, or a young generation getting into the workforce. They may not have the account history that So now you can look at the social media, how they are using, and based on that you can make a judgment call. And that way now you are able to expand that, providing the loan to the extended population, but still keeping the risks minimal, because you're still having those factors into consideration. That I think is a huge, because it's actually reaching out to everyone, and I think it's doing a service to the community. You're stopping frauds, you're making people trust the banks in the money they're is putting on you. And of course, anti-money laundering is a big thing where AI, I think, is really helped. So there are applications like that, and you've got customer service chatbots, you've got stock market predictions. Compliance is another area. I've been there, and one of the things with compliance is very, very hard to catch up with the rules and regulations every time, and you need to have lots of papers that you need to go through and figure out which is relevant for you. Now with AI, all of these looking at the compliance, looking at which one is relevant to you, all of that can be done through AI. So a lot of manual work, a lot of human resources involved in that is very much, and you can make sure you're always ahead in compliance. So I can think of many applications as a talk.
One thing that strikes me, you talked about in a lot of examples that you've given me about financial crimes and theft and data privacy compliance, was about binary data. It was zeros and numbers, where applications like SAS and they had that processing capability. And you towards the end you talked about conversational AI or chatbots, or you talked about social media. I think those other different data formats are also quite relevant now to detect fraud or communication patterns and really look at. And I think the power of AI, at one hand, when you're looking at binary data, could be more around processing this information very quickly and faster. Whereas when you're looking at these different data, that's where when this big data term exploded, now it's been I think 10 years ago, when big data was talked about, volume, velocity, variety, and all that stuff. But I think that variety concept, now I think the application of AI can really trigger a lot of those conversations, or actually those touch points, and engage and interact with the customer to really provide value.
I think the one thing that is adding more into it is this cognitive AI, which is under speech recognition, even the biometrics, right? So now when you come to financial security, nowadays you can use the biometrics to actually, rather than using the logins and other stuff. That's one way you can make sure the security is tighter. So that's another applications. I think it's getting more and more quite useful now.
So no, thank you, Aruna. I think we had some great conversation around the application of AI in banking and financial services. I really appreciate your feedback and opinion on this.
Thank you. Thanks for asking that question. Always love to talk about finance. So
Pleasure.
anytime.